Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Wednesday, July the 16th, 2024, or 2025, rather. Um, of course, today will be today's hump day, so hopefully everybody's getting over the hump. Hopefully everybody's had a good week thus far. We're, of course, going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. So I did finish up watching December 1938 cartoons. So, um, like Popeyes, probably one of Fleischer Studios' first shorts they produced in Miami. Cops is always right. Saw that one. There were some experimental films that came out towards the end there. Saw a Gandy Goose cartoon. So, anyways, um, a friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Oh, as I said, we're just waiting for more people to show up. Oh, there we go. Hey, Shadowhawk. Hey, Mike, just dropped in to like and share. Have a great show. Well, thanks. Um, thanks for popping in there, Shadowhawk. That's appreciated. Um, hopefully, we can get some more people that come in and say hi and stuff like that. Um, sorry you missed out on the live version of the show last night because I think you would have liked some of the stuff we're going over with Bugs Bunny, but you can always catch it because I keep my shows up if you want to go back and watch it. So anyway, so we're at 2:44 now, 2:45. So why don't we talk about what's on tap for tonight? Then so we do looks like we do have some people in here. So for tonight, I have one article I'm going to go over from Bounding into Comics. It's a comics related article talking about, I guess, Marvel's coming out with their latest swimsuit issue. And there's some discussion going on about it. Yeah, I was here for a while last night, just like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. um, well, hopefully you did at least catch some of what I was doing with the Bugs Bunny article. Because some of that stuff was kind of interesting to talk about. But anyways, so tonight, the article we're gonna go over from Bounding into Comics talks about the latest attempt by Marvel to do a swimsuit issue, but things are not going quite as well for them this time around. And well, apparently, but we'll talk more about that. We'll also have the Wrestling Wrap-Up, get kind of caught up on last night's NXT from WWE. We'll look ahead to tonight's AEW Dynamite. The fallout from All In, seeing all that's happening there. Then we will also we might even touch upon again what's going down this Sunday a little bit in terms of for TNA, as some of the TNA talent were on NXT last night in preparation for the upcoming matches on Slammiversary this Sunday. So with that being said, I'm going to go off camera for just a moment to take care of something real quick, and then when I come back, we'll get started. So just give me a sec. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Just gotta take care of something real quick. So now let's go ahead and get started with the article we're gonna go over tonight from Founding in the Comics here. Alrighty then. So here we go. Alright, so new Marvel swimsuit special. Friends, foes, and rivals disappoints with sexless artwork. Reprinted pinups from past covers. Okay, so I guess typical things you would associate with a swimsuit special. I guess they decided it. Article by Spencer McCulley, published back on July 11th, which was almost a full week ago. Today's the 16th, so that was last Friday, in fact. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on here. So, in a disappointing but ultimately unsurprising result, Marvel Comics has fumbled its latest Marvel swimsuit special by filling its pages not with titillating beachwear artwork of various Marvel superheroes, but instead what is perhaps the most aggressively sexless collection of, in smaller quotes, pinups ever put on paper. Oh boy. Could you imagine doing a swimsuit issue without the titillation? Yeah. Uh, oh boy. It's like, boy. Hmm. Let's see. The first such special in 30 years, the newly released Marvel swimsuit special, Friends, Foes, and Rivals, one shot, was touted by its eponymous publisher as, quote, continuing the tradition, unquote, of their early 90s swimsuit specials, which ran across the early 90s and were known for presenting readers with page after page of gratuitous Marvel themed cheesecake, all wrapped in a very loose but fun narrative that served solely to give a passing excuse as to why why the featured heroes and villains were hitting the beach instead of each other. Or just basically as those of us for those of us who've watched anime and manga, I don't know if this term is applied as much to comics or cartoons, but obviously from the term they use for anime and manga that do this kind of thing is called fan service. And while the narrative of the latest special, as presented by writers Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, with art from Nick Bradshaw and Rochelle Rosenberg, is admittedly enjoyable, the same cannot be said for a vast majority of the collected pinups. Now, to be clear, this appraisal is not based on on a vague idea of some generally accepted sexiness threshold, quote unquote. After all, as the old adage goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Nor is it rooted in a desire for said pinups to be more explicit, as Marvel Comics is still an all ages publisher, and thus it is understood that the content must err on the side of caution when it comes to such risque materials. Rather, it stems from the fact that while said pinups are all expertly illustrated, most of them are not only less enticing than any of the issue's covers, but completely devoid of any energy, sexual or otherwise, which is the absolute last thing anyone wants from a swimsuit special. So I think translation there is, I guess he's saying that the covers are just a little too plain for his taste, I guess. If I had to guess there. All right, so continuing on with the article here. Take, for example, Aaron Cooter and Jesus Abertoff's take on the Fantastic Four, which comes off as less, in smaller quotes, exciting than it does, um, in parentheses, a photo of your parents' last summer vacation. All right. Or Margaret Sauvage's poolside shot of Rogue and Gambit, the sharp line and color work serving a scene that would be more at home in a Disney Channel original movie than any sort of, smaller quote, spicy showcase, unsmaller quote. Hmm. Yeah, the way, okay, and the way they drew his feet right there, you almost have to wonder if either he's got webbed feet or if something's up with his arch there, because his foot there looks more like a boot. Hmm. Even David Marquez and Nolan Woodard's artwork of Cloak and Dagger, easily one of, if not the standout piece of the entire book, features the barest hints of sexuality, despite the two being near completely nude and making skin to skin contact. Hmm. Truly, of every piece featured in the Marvel swimsuit special, only Muhammad Azrar and Matthew Wilson's snapshot of Black Cat and Spider Man comes even remotely close to truly capturing the book's old school feel. Hmm. Again, all objectively well drawn, but sadly, on the whole, boring when compared to previous swimsuit special depictions of these same characters, such as Walter McDaniel, Matt Banning, and Tom Smith's handling of Marvel's First Family. Hmm. Tim Hildebrandt and Greg Hildebrandt's Marvel Swimsuit Special Volume 1, Number 4 cover adorning shot of Rogue and Gambit. Or Joe Phillips, John Dell, and John Ceballero's look into one of Cloak and Dagger's more intimate moments. To make matters even more disappointing, in addition to the book's pinups being less than eye-catching, rather than its entire gallery being made up of wholly original pieces, 3 of the entries are actually reprints from previously released variant covers, with Oliver Coipel's Namor piece having originally been produced for February's Namor Volume 2, number 7. Rian Gonzalez's Venom for October 2023's Venom Volume 5, number 26. And Adam Hughes' She-Hulk, which would itself count as the book's sexiest piece if it hadn't already appeared with a foiled treatment on 2023's sensational She-Hulk Volume 2, number 1. All in all, while not the most embarrassing attempt at towing the sex appeal line ever produced, the Marvel Swimsuit Special, Friends, Foes, and Rivals may have just been better off being dedicated to its main objective, showcasing upcoming skins for Marvel rivals. Parentheses, and hey, at least it also got some great variant covers, including an amazing set from the one and only J. Scott Campbell. Parentheses. All right. So basically, I think his point was it wasn't a case of them like using a lot of fan service. It was more a case where a lot of the covers were just plain, bland. No personality to them. So that's what I think. That's what Spencer Bakuli's issue here was. Oh, let's see. Well, 19 minutes. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I wasn't planning on doing another article tonight, anyways. So, guess I will get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap up. Since I've been trying to get, trying to get back to a certain point, but anyways, all right, and of course, a friendly reminder to everybody: if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Hey, if it shows up, thanks for popping in there. We just went over some discussion about Marvel's latest attempt at the swimsuit special. Some criticism here from Spencer Bakuli over the fact that it was just a little too plain for his taste. I don't think sharing really matters at this point. You never know. It's at least try. But anyways, why would I ever care about a swimsuit special? Well, maybe you don't, but I mean, I'm sure there are some fans who would to imagine some of the characters in you know more risque situations. You know, nothing necessarily wrong with that. You may not be one of them, but hey, that's fine. I'll comment on some of these videos to boost them in the algorithm. All right. I think you just became number one on the fan thing. So, yep, you did. So, all right. So, with that being said, of course, I'm going to move on to the wrestling wrap up. Since we didn't have much going on here. So, of course, going back to last night's NXT, as of course, WWE has I'm always number one because I'm usually the only person here. Most of the time, yeah, has been the case of late. Um, I know Rick and Metal have been coming around a little bit more often. We had Shadow Hawk in here earlier tonight too. So, anyways, so yeah, so last night, WNXT had its latest episode, coming from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, with Booker T, Corey Graves, and Vic Joseph on commentary. As of course they had some matches, they did have some matches, as preludes to this, as there will be some NXT talent participating in the Slammiversary pay-per-view with TNA. Opening match saw the Dark Side trio of Osiris Griffin, Dion Lennox, and Saquon Sugars, going to a no contest with Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, and Trick Williams, as Trick Williams tried to take charge, and Joe Hendry and Mike Santana just wouldn't have it. Trick Williams, the current TNA World Heavyweight Champion, having taken it from Joe Hendry. Of course, the two of them, and Mike Santana will be involved in a triple threat match for the TNA World Championship this Sunday at Slammiversary. Eventually, what happened was, after the little split up, a little incident between Williams, Santana, and Hendry. Dark State's fourth member, Cutler James, got involved. Match ended up in a no contest, and then afterwards, as Hendry and Santana were kind of leaving the ring, they were eventually joined. Yes, it was a 4-on-2 situation at that point of Dark State versus the two of them. The system, TNA's a system of Moose, Eddie Edwards, JDC, and Brian Myers all came out, and the six of them went after Dark State. So then in the next matchup, you had match for the WWE Evolve Women's title, which Evolve is another program that they're doing, focusing on, I guess, younger, lesser developed talent. Callie Armstrong defended the Evolve Women's TV title against Carmen Petrovic in a match that ended in a DQ when Jordan Grace came out and attacked both wrestlers, looking for Blake Monroe to get some revenge on Blake Monroe. When Robert Stone and one of the girls that he's aligned with him came out, tried to calm Jordan down, she attacked the two of them. She was like real upset. She was about ready to hold up the show until Blake Monroe came out because she basically wanted Blake's head, as it were. Let's see now. Then a triple threat match in this match that's been kind of boiling over for the few weeks is Tony D'Angelo's family. Tony D'Angelo defeated his two former family members of Channing Lorenzo and Lucas Cristofino. Cristofino had betrayed D'Angelo a few weeks back. He's currently, of course, the NXT Heritage Cup champion. And then there was also another confrontation between NXT champion Obafemi along with this past Sunday's or this past Saturday's Great American Bash opponent Yoshiki Inamura along with Josh Briggs, which got them, which caused Josh Briggs to challenge Femi and Inamura to a triple threat match for the NXT title. I don't know if that was accepted or not. We won't know probably till next week. And then the main event saw a six-woman tag match. In a match that was set up earlier in the evening as Masha Slamovich was basically confronting JC Jane in a prelude to their matchup this Sunday, a winner-take-all match for both the TNA Knockouts World title and the NXT title. Masha Slamovich would end up teaming with Sol Ruka and Zarya, who came out to confront the Fatal Influence, who of course are JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Jasmine Nix. With Masha Slamovich hitting the snowplow on JC Jane to get the win for the match. So that's all we got for that. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what to look forward to for tonight's AEW Dynamite, and of course the fallout from this past Saturday's All In pay-per-view. Let's take a look at what be going on. A lot of things happened. I've already talked about all the things that happened at All In, so we're not going to rehash that as much. But tonight's Dynamite will be coming from the Byline Bank Argonne Ballroom in Chicago, Illinois. Will be airing on TBS. And the matches that are already scheduled for tonight's Dynamite include Mascara Dorada taking on Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher looking to rebound after his loss in the 4-way for the TNT title. Coming off in an 8-man tag match, the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, coming off of losing their EVP status, will be teaming with Don Callis family members Josh Alexander and Hey Cesaro to take on Ring of Honor World heavyweight champion Bandito, Brody King, and the team of Jet Speed of Speedball Mike Bailey and the Jet Kevin Knight. In a $100,000 four-way match, Willow Nightingale will be taking on Eve International champion Chris Statlander, as well as they'll be taking on Thekla and Queen Aminata in what should be a very volatile match, as there's genuine heat between all four of these women, particularly between Nightingale and Statlander. That rivalry's been kind of on and off for the last 6 months or so. Thekla and Aminata. Thekla basically went after Aminata almost immediately upon her debut. They've been going at it for the last few weeks. And in the main event, in a 6-man tag match, newly crowned AEW World Heavyweight Champion Adam Page teams with Mark Briscoe and 1/3 of the AEW World 6-man Tag Champions Howard Hobbs to take on the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli, John Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta. So that's all that's going down on AEW tonight. So with that, we will now go ahead and move on to this day in each history. I guess we'll kind of wrap up a little early tonight because I am trying to get back to a certain hour point. But anyways, so with today being Wednesday, July the 16th, 2025. Well, we're not gone yet. Bye, everybody. Oh boy, we're not gone yet, Jozo. But today being Wednesday, July the 16th, 2025. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. So let's see now. Okay, July 16th, 1985, 2000, 2015, and then 2005. All right. So first, I'm going to head back 40 years ago. And on this date, 40 years ago today, on this date, and I believe this would have been Volume 1, Star Wars Volume 1, number 100 from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date back in 1985. It sold for $1.25, 48 pages. The title of the story was First Strike, written by Mary Jo Duffy, penciled by Cynthia Martin, inked by Art Nichols and Sam De La Rosa, lettering done by Rick Parker, and Petra Scottish Goldberg did the coloring. So on this date, 40 years ago today, the 100th issue of Star Wars went on sale on this date from Marvel Comics. So, moving on to the next piece in each history. So they get everything going here. Okay, moving on to the year 2000, 25 years ago today. On this date in the year 2000, ECW held its Heatwave event from, in the only time that ECW came to the West Coast, from the Grand Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, California. Now, I was actually at this event. One of the few times I actually went to a live wrestling event. There was a lot going on, not just with the pay-per-view itself, but because of the fact ECW was coming to the West Coast, there was another hardcore promotion out here in LA. Basically maybe even a little more like raunchy than ECW was. Um, you know, there was a promotion called Extreme Pro Wrestling with an X as opposed to EX. Extreme Pro Wrestling that was based here in Southern California area in Los Angeles. They were not. There was some issues going on between ECW and XPW. Um, Obviously, partly XPW was not keen on the idea of ECW invading their turf, but also Sabu had no-showed an ECW event for XPW. Apparently, there were some issues there, and aside from the matchups, there was also another incident. Um, Albeit, I don't know if they really. So I understand it. They really didn't focus too much on it on the pay per view. But I was on one side of the ring, in the audience on one side of the ring, and across on the other side, there was some people from XPW, Messiah, Supreme, White Trash, Johnny Webb, and Rob Black. Rob Black, who was the owner of XPW. They were there, I guess, adorned in an XPW attire. Security had basically asked them to remove said attire and or like flip the shirts around or what have you. But it did lead to a bit of a confrontation with security. Led to a confrontation afterwards as well. So but anyway, so that was all that was going on. That was some of the other drama going on there. But as for the event itself, as for the wrestling event itself, Heatwave 2000 itself, the main event saw Just Incredible with Francine in his corner defeat Tommy Dreamer with Jazz and George in his corner in a Stairway to Hell match to retain the ECW World Heavyweight title. You also saw Rob Van Dam defeat Scotty Anton. Scotty Anton, the former Scotty Riggs in WCW. Rhino defeated Sandman to retain the ECW World Television Championship. In a four-way dance. Now, the way that ECW did four-way dances here, it was an elimination style match. So Yoshihiro Tajiri defeated Mikey Whipwreck, Little Guido, and Psychosis in the four-way dance. Little Guido pinned Whipwreck with a bridging German suplex, and Tajiri pinned Psychosis after a dragon suplex. And Tajiri got the final pin on Guido after a brainbuster onto a steel chair. In some other notable battles, Jerry Lynn defeated Steve Corino in a singles match. In a six-man tag match, Kid Cash, Danny Doring, and Amish Roadkill defeated Simon Diamond, C.W. Anderson, and Swinger. Johnny Swinger, basically. And then the night opened up with Sal E. Graziano defeating Balls Mahoney. Yes, there was a wrestler named Balls. So there we go with that. So on this date in the year 2000, ECW held its Heatwave pay-per-view at the Grand Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, California. So now, as we now move on to the next piece in each history, as the next piece in each history will be going over is from 2005. On this date, 20 years ago, in the year 2005, let's see, OLMs Pokemon Lucario and the Mystery of Mew premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2005. Pokemon Lucario and the Mystery of Mew is a 2005 Japanese animated fantasy film directed by Kunihiko Yuyama, produced by OLM. It is the 8th installment of the Pokemon film series, of course, with film stars Rika Matsumoto, Ikue Atane, Yuji Ueda, Kaori, Fujigi Yamada, Megumi Hayashibara, Shinichiro Miki, and all of them. Was released in theaters in Japan on July 16th, 2005. So 20 years ago today, the premiere of Pokemon Lucario and the Mystery Mew premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2005. And finally on this date in 2000, as soon as we get that out of the way there, on this date in the year 2015, premiering on Nickelodeon, the Nickelodeon produced animated series Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket premiered on Nickelodeon on this date back in 2015. Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket, also abbreviated PGBC, is an American animated television series created by Dave Cooper and Johnny Ryan for Nickelodeon. The show follows the interwoven adventures of the titular quartet. It premiered on July 16, 2015, after the 2015 Kids Choice Sports. So there we go. So there was the premiere. So all right. So now, with all that being said, I thank you all for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. Also, this Sunday, I'll be joined by Metal as we'll be going over comics that went on sale in June of 1940. We'll be focusing in on books that went on sale from Dell Comics. Particular issue we'll be reading from here will be Crackerjack Funnies, Volume 1, number 25. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.